On tonight's Cover One Buffalo podcast, we bring on our own Steve Mathis, but first, our guys, Handsome Jack.
Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL. Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, how we doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, man? I know you're busy. You're a busy guy.
Yeah, a lot. I've said this a lot. It's easier for me to just lie and say I'm good. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
It's nice, but we got that message.
My
on
real
Blue
life
Sky.
is the busiest it's ever been in my entire life. My career, it's the busiest and most stressful it's ever been in my whole life.
But that's kind of like, not to take away from that, obviously, but that is sort of the fun of football and this and what we do. And like,
this is great.
Twitter, like, people take it so seriously and stuff. And it's like, dude, this is the part of my life that
This is
the part I enjoy. The outcome doesn't actually impact me. This is all just fun. And we had that nice message, or skeet, I think they call it, on Blue Sky, where that doesn't sound right. I'm not going to say skeet anymore. Message on Blue Sky.
He skeeted you?
He skeeted at me.
I think so. Yes, I think that's how that works.
But basically saying, like, real life's kind of gotten crazy, and he just started getting back into Bill's podcast, thanking content creators for still grinding and stuff like that. And honestly, like, you and I were talking offline, like, real life is kind of hectic right now for both of us, and it's nice to be able to just come here for an hour and talk about Bills, because it doesn't matter. We're going to get most of these things wrong that we're talking about draft wise, and nobody cares. It's all gravy. So I'm glad I get to spend an hour with you that isn't work related, Greg.
Thank you, Lord. For anyone who doesn't know, a little peek behind the curtain. I know a lot of times on the salary cap show, and when people ask me, I vaguely talk about how my job involves financial analysis and different things of how that translates over. The real explanation is I do tariffs. Like, so all the things you hear on the news, like, that's my job. Like, that's what I do. So my job's super complicated right now. So the getting to talk about football is delightful. And with that in mind, we thought, we talk a lot about how you and I go very chronologically in draft world, and with football, that we go from the season in the playoffs to, evaluating our roster, to free agency, and then to the draft. And one of the reasons we have the luxury of doing that is we work with really hardworking, talented people who put in that work way ahead of time to prepare for it. And we also work with Steve, which is great. So Steve, welcome aboard, brother. How we doing, man? For anyone who isn't aware and lives under a rock, our man, Steve Judge Mathis, is one half of the very talented duo on the Air Raid Hour with our own David Tilton. And for anyone who doesn't know, Steve does put in an awesome amount of time prepping for the draft, is a day three aficionado, knows all the depths of the draft world. But you just came out with your My Guys list, and you've been putting in work for the draft for a while here. So we figured, what better way to get ourselves caught up? And just like I did in college, I'm actually wearing my college shirt right now. I crammed off other smart people right before the test, and then I would do good on the test anyway. So help me cram for the draft to get me ready.
Yeah, I wore my Believe t-shirt tonight from Ted Lasso, because these are the prospects that I believe in. And I put out a tweet right before the show started, like, don't expect for me to hear me talking about any round one guys when I talk about my guys, because that's my favorite thing to do, is to dive deep into the draft and dive deep into the position rankings and pick out some guys that I think are gems.
Yeah, and I think Greg was being a little loose with, like, oh, you've been grinding for a while. You are a mock draft looking ahead, like, a couple years ahead in terms of, like, when guys are going to come out. You are one of that I like to say, kind of like a psychopath about the college football world.
It's great.
Which is great, though. It is a great resource. And why, when we were getting into this sort of transition of ours last week, I talked to Greg. I was like, dude, let's have Steve on here because he's probably looked at more of these guys than anybody we know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Obviously, as we go through here, we're going to talk through some of the different pieces, and then we'll get into your list as a whole. But why don't we start with where your mind is at from a position priority standpoint? We obviously know that Bean does a pretty good job historically here of not leaving a ton of gaping holes. We've had a few in the past where we knew, obviously the Josh year, we had the huge hole at linebacker. We knew they were going to go that way. Tremaine Edmonds, like, you had to make that move. He came in, he starts day one. We've had plenty of other spots where there were some pretty obvious moments. And this year, we have some, maybe less, short-term band-aids than we historically have, where there are, in my opinion, are a couple positions that really stand out. And in the Cover One Discord, we debate a lot that, if Dane Jackson is a lesser starter than Daquan Jones, does that mean cornerback is a bigger need than D tackle? And we'll kind of debate back and forth there, but I kind of have those two in their own tier. I think it's debatable. I think that corner is a little bit higher need, even though I want a D tackle more, but I get that. Then you go into the other. I love that from Charles. Can't go to the grocery store hungry. That's a great analogy. Then I have kind of a mix of three where it's dealer's choice and edge, wide receiver, safety, however you like. That's probably the order I have it: edge, wide receiver, safety, edge, safety, wide receiver. And then, you could tell me we need a linebacker, we need a tight end, backup quarterback, whatever you like in some of those other spots. But really, I wouldn't care if those top five, we just take two of each of them, and that's the whole draft in those spots too. Out of that spot, where do you do how much the need comes into play versus truly sticking to the board, best player available? If the best guy is maybe not a linebacker, but if the best guy's a safety or wide receiver, right, you take them because they're there. Where's your tiers, and then how strongly do you stick to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like everyone else. I mean, the needs are cornerback, the needs are defensive tackle, preferably a one tech type, even though I know the Buffalo Bills like those one tech, three tech versatile guys. The Buffalo Bills clearly have a need, I think, at edge rusher with Michael Hoyt being suspended and Joey Bosa probably going to be on a rep limit. The Bills could definitely use, I think, a prototypical Z receiver, a boundary guy who can get vertical. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but much better. That type of player. And we'll talk about one of those guys tonight. And then, of course, if they want to add some depth at running back with the James Cook situation, tight end with Quentin Morris gone, and, maybe Dawson Knox's future with his salary being murky 2 years from now. Maybe they want to go linebacker and add some linebacker depth because this could be Matt Milano's year. Like, there are so many ways in which the Buffalo Bills can go. For me, I got two big philosophies heading into this draft. Number one is take the best player on the board at 30. Like, if the best player on the board is Walter Nolan, take Walter Nolan, right? If it happens to be at a position of need, if the best player on the board is Trey Amos, take Trey Amos. But if a guy like Malachi Starks is there at 30 and you feel like Malachi Starks is the best player on the board, take Malachi Starks. Like, there's another guy in a linebacker, and people aren't going to want to hear this, in Jihad Campbell, who's really, really good. Like, really, really good. And if Matt Milano's going into the final year of his contract, and depending on how they feel about Dorian Williams, like, if the Buffalo Bills want to pull the trigger on Jihad Campbell, I wouldn't be mad. Like, I think that guy is a future all-pro caliber linebacker in this league. Like, he is really, really, really good. So do I want them taking a tight end in the first round? No. Do I want them taking a quarterback in the first round? No. Do I want them taking an offensive lineman in the first round? No. But within reason, pretty much any player on the defensive side of the ball or a wide receiver, I'd be okay with that at 30.
So you're saying you're cool with running back round one, right? I just want to put that out there for Bruce Nolan that you like. No,
listen. If
we trade James Cook, if
Chauncey is there at pick 30, I'm in.
Sure. One kind of in that vein, something that, like, philosophically I've been debating when I'm doing these mocks or talking to people about this is the way the strength of the class plays into the needs of the Bills, and especially at the interior defensive line. I get to 30 and I see guys I like, but then I have a corner that I like, and there's a lot of corners I like, but I think the class is a little top heavy. Once you get past that second round, I think there's a bit of a drop off. And so, like, philosophically, do you weigh those things of like, well, there is more options in the interior defensive line. So if I had to prioritize one, I want to maybe get the Trey Amos early, and then I have some CJ Wests or other guys later that I can fill out, a Darius Alexander type.
Yeah, 100%. I actually like some of these corners in the middle rounds, but
sure,
that's more of a projection and a belief in Sean McDermott and his ability to develop cornerbacks.
Yeah.
So giving a guy like Sean McDermott a Trey Amos, who kind of reminds me a little bit of Trey White back in the day, very similar like type of, athletes and things like that. That's a really enticing thing. And you're right. There is a lot of depth at IDL, but I will say this, there's no longer amount of time during the year for me than between when the Buffalo Bills pick in the first round and when the Buffalo Bills pick in the second round, because a lot of players that I really like just start flying off the board, especially at positions of need. But if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I think trading back would be really interesting this year. I know fans don't want to hear that, especially after last year. I think that would be an interesting concept given where this draft is, depending on who's on the board, obviously at 30. And I also think taking a guy at 30 and then trading up from 56 is really, really interesting as well. So if we can get that corner at 30, and then trade up to guarantee us maybe like a Tyleek Williams or one of those TJ Sanders, one of those, I think bona fide second round dudes in this draft, I'd be all for it.
Yeah. I think there's an interesting combo there. So even if we do trade down, it would almost be guaranteeing you need to trade back up from other spots later, because we don't need to add more ammo. Or if it's a trade down where, hey, you're trading down, but you're picking up another, it's 30 in one of our fifths for a early second. We only trade down a handful of spots and a third, and you're picking up another top 100 pick in the all in one trade. I know the Giants have a combo. I looked through and found the Giants have a combo like that. The Bears have a combo like that. The Saints are like the farthest I would want to go. They're at pick 40. That's almost too far for me, but there's a handful in that range where the Browns, the Giants, the Saints, especially some of the teams, I listed them off because maybe they're a jump back into the late first round to get a fifth-year option on a quarterback. They want Jackson Dart. They want whoever is falling to that point. Or if I'm now hearing buzz that maybe Milroe should get late first round quarterback, whatever.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
No. Yes.
Crazier stuff.
I want all the things. I want everyone to be excited about the late first round quarterbacks, because that gives us options. So if we only have to trade down a little bit to get to those Tennessee, or not Tennessee, they'll probably take Cam Ward, but one of those quarterback needy teams early in the second where you're dropping from 30 to 35, 30 to 33, 30 to 37, all of a sudden, and you're picking up something there where maybe we use some of the later picks in a combo and get that third round pick, and now you give yourself some options there. That's a range where I think there's that cluster of corners we'll talk about here in a minute, where there's 3 or 4 of them together based on health, based on, skill set and things like that, where whichever one we like, you can still get one of those. And then all of a sudden, maybe we have the ammo to come up for 56 or 62. And maybe you end up with 35 and 42 and something like that, where now you have some of the ammo to move around.
And I would love to move up to like 24, the Minnesota Vikings. That just sticks out to me like a sore thumb. If you can get up to 24 and like Jahdae Barron is on the board or Derek Harmon is on the board, those are I like Walter Nolan a lot. I know there's the character concerns, the maturity concerns around Walter Nolan, so I'll leave him out of this conversation for now. But if you're looking at Derek Harmon and Jahdae Barron, like to me, those two guys, outside of like maybe Will Johnson maybe slipping, which I don't think he will.
Yeah.
So I'll just use Jahdae Barron and Derek Harmon. Like to me, that would be the prize if you're Brandon Beane. It's like, can I get up far enough in the draft without giving up too much to land one of those two guys? Because you look at Derek Harmon's body composition, it's very similar to like Leonard Williams, right? Like when you look at his spider chart, that is a very, very intriguing defensive tackle on the body that he has. And then you look at Jahdae Barron, and yes, are there questions about can he play on the outside? I think he can. Some very, very, very trusted people in the draft community, like Trevor Sikkema, who has him ahead of Will Johnson, are convinced he could play on the outside. And I think under Sean McDermott, he could play on the outside as well. And who knows, that's a guy you can get like 2-3 contracts out of, because after he provides his services as an outside corner for 4 to 6 years, he can transition into the nickel as he ages and stuff. So a guy like Jahdae Barron with his instincts and his ball skills, and a guy like Derek Harmon, those guys are the prize for me if you can get up to 24.
Where do you have Kenneth Grant in that group?
I have Derek Harmon 1, Walter Nolan 2, Kenneth Grant 3, after Mason Graham.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that I think like the most chalk pick I've seen. Literally, everyone has Mason Graham to the Jags at 5. Like
Yeah.
it's just like written in
He's Braden
stone
Fisk
that
on
he's going to be
steroids,
that pick.
and
Yeah,
Gladstone came from the Rams, who just took Braden Fisk. But to me, you can't go wrong with either 3. So like some people might get mad in the comment section, like, how dare you have Kenneth Grant, the prodigy, like the chosen one at number 3. But to me, he's a little bit more projection than the other 2. I think Walter Nolan's probably one of the biggest dogs in this draft, like just an absolute menace on the interior. And then he's just an instant upgrade in your run defense. I think Derek Harmon just checks all the boxes of what the Buffalo Bills look for in a defensive tackle. And then you have Kenneth Grant, who's a little bit bigger than what the Buffalo Bills typically go for at defensive tackle, a little bit of an outlier. But, Eric and Ant have conversations with Terrell Bernard. It looks like maybe the Buffalo Bills might have some interest in drafting a player like Kenneth Grant. And the caveat to all this being is if Kenneth Grant reaches a ceiling, he can give you all that run stuffing stuff. And then he can give you all that freaky pass rushing stuff too, if he reaches that ceiling, and he could be better than all 3 of these other guys, Graham, Nolan, and Harmon.
Yeah, could be really interesting. All right. So why don't we get into, your my guys list for this year. You can unveil it as you see fit or how you want to go through. Let us know what you want to share with the folks. I know for anyone who's already listened on the Air Raid Hour, you have to bear with us. But for those who haven't had the chance to hear it, here's the guys where Steve is kind of planting his flag. These are guys that obviously love for the Bills to pick, but that you have belief in going forward.
Yeah, let's go in reverse order, since obviously I usually go offense to defense, but let's go defense to offense here, just because that's just where the Buffalo Bills needs are. And I'll start with safety, and I'm going to go with Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. I'm planting my flag with him of all the safeties sort of in this group. I love Malachi Starks. I love Andrew Makuba. Like, I love all of these guys. Billy Bowman is a favorite of mine, even though his arm length percentile is very, very scary. But you look at Xavier Watts athletically, he's very comparable to Brian Cook. Look at this college resume. 2023, he won the Nagurski Trophy for the nation's top defender. He was first team AP All-American. He tied for the FBS lead with 7 interceptions. And then he comes back in 2024 because there were things in his game that he mentioned, like, I want to work on these things. Like, so he is the kind of guy who has that work ethic, who has that growth mindset the Buffalo Bills are looking for. Comes back in 2024. He's once again first team AP All-American. He joined Travis Hunter as the only consensus All-Americans in both 2023 and 2024. He was second in the FBS with 6 interceptions. He was a Sugar Bowl defensive MVP.
Most turnovers the last 2 years.
It's just an absolute incredible resume. Team captain. He processes the game too. Like, the thing about him is he's an average athlete, 5.8 RAS, but he processes the game at such a high level. He's got great ball production, 13 interceptions over the last 2 seasons. It feels like every time we see a ball producing, like, center fielding safety, they have like a major flaw. Like, they struggle at the line of scrimmage and things like that. But that's not Xavier Watts. Like, Xavier Watts, he diagnoses really well. He works downhill really well. He's a weapon as a blitzer. He comes down against the run. Like, he can literally be that split safety the Buffalo Bills are looking for. There was an AFC National Scout on his NFL.com draft profile that said, I question his speed in man cover town a little bit, but they are above the line. His instincts and ball skills are off the charts. To me, this is a really nice post defender that you can groom along with Cole Bishop, and I think they complement each other really well. So Xavier Watts is my guy this year at the safety position.
Which the Bills did meet with him at the combine.
Yeah. I think this is going to be one of those guys that you're frustrated at that round 2. Like you said, when guys are flying off the board in round 2, and you can't get your hands on them. But what's kind of shocking,
go like 54th or something horrific like that.
Pretty much, yeah. It is, in watching the safeties, all these draft crushes and mocks having Manawari over Watts, and I think it's just because of the athletic profile, and I don't see it at all. I don't see a better player.
I mean, the film and the production is not even close between what Watts actually did. It's purely the fact that Manawari is like a historic athlete, from that standpoint. And Watts is, an average athlete. Like, I won't say below average, but he's an average athlete.
But I say this all the time, and I think scouts will see it too, is that, and maybe there's just a lot of scouts that don't believe in it, is that the processing kind of negates lacking athleticism, especially at this level. And if you're a slow processor with athleticism, that's almost worse. Like we saw it with Dorian Williams early on, where it's like you have freak athleticism, but you're not processing the play, and you're so far out of position now that like no amount of athleticism is going to get you.
Yeah, you run yourself out of position.
Yeah, and so that seems like scary to me if I'm a scout. And I feel like Watts should be kind of closer into that first round as that second safety in this class.
Yeah. All right, Steve, who's next?
The next guy I got is Noel Williams out of Cal, and he's a cornerback. I love Noel Williams. His athletic comp, if you look on Mock Draftable, is Trayvon Mullen is the most like probably prolific of football players that they have close to him. But what Noel Williams reminds me of is he reminds me of a guy who was taken in the second round last year and late second round and contributed as a rookie. He reminds me a lot of Renardo Green out of Florida State, who had a good rookie season for the San Francisco 49ers last year. Noel Williams was second team Associated Press All-American, first team All-ACC corner, honorable mention All-ACC all-purpose player. He led the FBS last year at 7 interceptions, tied for the team lead with 9 pass breakups. He was tied for third in the FBS with 16 pass defense. He returned a kickoff 80 yards for a touchdown, and he started all 13 games for the Cal Bears this year. He's got ball skills galore, 14 interceptions in his college career, including a Power 5 leading 7 picks this season. He's got really good eyes in zone. He's got really good ball skills. Those are his strengths. He's very physical in press man, and he's very physical against the run. He's a very willing run defender. He plays the edge with physicality. He competes. He had a really impressive game against Stanford and Elik Amanor, who's going to probably be a top 40 pick in this draft, one of the more physical and imposing wide receivers. He went toe-to-toe with him. He checked the boxes at the Shrine Bowl. He had a solid week. He looked really good in the combine drills. Did he test off the charts? No, he did not, but he was so fluid, and he made everything look easy in those combine drills. Some people are going to have concerns about his athleticism. I don't. I think he's fine. He had a high number of holding penalties and pass interference penalties. He jumps things he shouldn't. He's really ultra aggressive, but I'd rather have to rein a guy in than have to get a guy to be aggressive. I really think Noel Williams could be, fingers crossed he's there in the 4th round, but I could see the Buffalo Bills picking him at 62. And I think despite he doesn't have the name recognition of some of these other guys, I think Sean McDermott could get this guy plug and play ready week 1.
Dane Bulger, who just released the Beast, has Noel Williams as his cornerback 8 right behind Revel. So which is weird because the consensus mock has him kind of way down at 157. And he peaked at 114, and so the mocks aren't loving him, but the guys, and I know a lot of scouts, Eric loves him. You're really in on him. I know Ant was talking highly of him, so it's an interesting. This is one of the players, in my opinion, that's like an interesting break between these big boards and these mock drafts, and probably where the player will actually end up.
Who do you got next?
The next guy on my list is another Cal Bear, and that is Teddy Buchanan, linebacker. I think this guy is flying way under the radar. If the Buffalo Bills are looking to add a linebacker in the middle rounds, this is my dude. 9.77 Raz at 6'2", 233 pounds. He ran a 4.6 40. He had a 40-inch vert. This guy is rocked up. He is chiseled. And when you look at him playing on the field, usually those guys are kind of lumbering. They're kind of stiff. He is not. Like, what he brings to you is he was the green dot of that Cal Bears defense that had impressive talent, like Noel Williams is going to get drafted, and Harris the other corner, and Craig Woodson the other corner. He was the green dot on that defense after transferring from UC Davis. He's really good in run defense. He had 5 forced fumbles and 8 interceptions across his college career between those two schools. So he shows that he can force turnovers. He looks really good and fluid in coverage. Again, despite his larger size, he's got sideline to sideline motor. He's a good, reliable tackler. He's definitely got the body type that he can be a special teams contributor right away while he's waiting for an opportunity on the field. I think his draft stock is buzzing. He had a really good week at the Shrine Bowl where he helped himself out. And then obviously with that huge Raz score, he was a big winner at the combine. So I think one of the more slept on players of this draft is Teddy Buchanan out of Cal. Give me him in the 4th round. Come in. He can compete to be a depth linebacker. He can contribute on special teams. And he's legitimately someone I could see the Buffalo Bills molding into a starter someday.
Similar way that people talked about Malik Mustafa last year that ended up playing really well in San Francisco. I remember the one video that he was doing some like chain climbing thing, but he took his shirt off and I was like, dude looks like the thing that you wear when you're like trying to dress up for Halloween, like a Marvel superhero. And like, he just looks like that in real life. It's absurd.
These next two, I already know. It's a spoiler where I know your list. These next two I've actually been drooling over as of late. So go ahead and get into these guys.
Yeah, my favorite IDL in this draft is CJ West out of Indiana. When you look at his athletic comps on Mock Draftable, DJ Jones comes up, which I know you're, Aaron, a favorite, big fan of DJ Jones. Aleem McNeil is the other athletic comp. Now he's 6'1", 316 pounds, which is 15th and 77th percentile respectively. His arm length is the issue at 31 inches. That's only 6th percentile. So people have concerns about that, but he is a really good athlete, had a really good RAS score. He had 10 starts this past season at Indiana. He had 7.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, a pass breakup, and a forced fumble. He has 23 starts prior to the season at Kent State. He went from Kent State to Indiana, and in his first year, Indiana immediately becomes one of the best run defense teams in college football and gets themselves into the college football playoff. That wasn't a coincidence. A lot of that had to do with the impact that CJ West had on the football field. He blew up the Shrine Bowl practices. He looked like a guy who belonged in Mobile, not in Frisco. He has an 88.1 run defense grade for PFF. He had 25 pressures this year. He's capable of playing 1 and 3 tech, which I think would appeal to the Buffalo Bills, even though the Buffalo Bills typically avoid players with his shorter arm length. He's quick and twitchy. He's compact. He's got that low center of gravity because he's a little bit of a shorter guy. He's got a really strong punch. He's got active hands, good footwork. He's got a really, really, really high motor, and he can be really disruptive, even going to the sidelines on stretch plays. Again, the short arms are a limitation. Is he got 3-down ability as a pass rusher? I don't know. But at the end of the day, he's sturdy. He's spatially aware defender. He's got great hand usage. He excels against the run. He's got elite testing numbers with the 914 RAS. Like, let's not complicate things here. He is a 2-down run defender with upside to be more, and you can probably have him trading up into the 3rd round or at pick 62, or maybe even there is a world where he slides to the 4th round. So I was
gonna say, do you think he's a lock to be a top 100?
A lot of the draft podcasts I listen to, like Mike Renner and things, who have had conversations with his agent, they expect him to be a top 100 player.
Yeah,
that's what his agents expected. They said they expected, and that was before he blew up the Shrine Bowl and had a really good combine. So to me, if I were placing a grade on CJ West, to me, he's a 2nd rounder. But I mean, how great would it be if we could address wide receiver, edge rusher, cornerback, and then trade up into the 3rd round and get him middle of the 3rd round? Like, that would be the dream right there. But I think he's a really good player. If they took him at 56 or 62, I wouldn't consider it a reach. I think he could be a meaty contributor. My biggest fear is the Bills don't like him as much as I do because of those short arms. That's my only fear right now.
The other problem is like the class itself, right? Like he just gets pushed down because it's such a big class.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen that before with different positions. When you have those historic classes, you have the guys that end up falling because of that. It's just because there were so many other talented guys earlier. It's a good problem to have. Yeah. So he was someone who stood out to me. Obviously, I was kind of doing some of my draft work in reverse. I was sitting there at the combine watching, and I'm like literally discovering some of these guys exist as I'm watching them work out on the thing. And he was in the same group as it was, him, Tyleik Williams, Kenneth Grant, Derek Harmon, Deion Walker, a handful of other guys that bigger name players. And I think he weighed in like 319 and is like a noticeably big, he's a big dude. And I'm watching him do the drills, and he's moving as well or more explosively than these other like guys that I knew their names of more. And I'm like, why isn't this guy talked about the way that those guys are talked about? Like, this is weird. Like, I'm watching him move around and run and do the different drills, and he looks like more athletic than some of these other guys. And so he was someone that I immediately came back and started looking at the numbers of, and exactly what you referenced came up going through. The number one for me was Derek Harmon. Like you talked about him earlier, that he's just like, no one should be able to move like he moves at that size. And it looks, you mentioned some of the other names, so like Chris Jones and people like that. They're like, it just looks like a big grizzly bear moving around. Of like, what the hell? Like, you're not supposed to be able to move like that when you're that big. And CJ West had some of that kind of just eye-catching movement ability at that size, just the fluidity and the comfort level in which he moved like that. I think that's interesting. And you talked about this year, I'm perfectly good with the 2-down guy, because that's why you sign a Larry Ogunjobi. Like, I only need him to play on 3rd down pass rushing downs to come just disrupt next to Ed Oliver. So a guy who can soak up those other reps in the other parts of the game is perfectly fine, because we have a guy that's his whole job. Like, just come in and wreak havoc and mess stuff up. Like, he can pass rush in those spots. I like that idea to have him in that spot. Who's your last one?
The next guy I got is Josiah Stewart out of Michigan.
Blue.
Yeah, I know you're a Michigan guy, so you like that. But yes, the size is an issue. He's 6'1", 249 pounds. That's 2nd and 13th percentile. He's got a 79-inch wingspan, which is 30th percentile. 31, almost 32-inch arms, which is 5th percentile. I get it. Size is an issue. I get it that maybe his fit in this defense is an issue. But as Stephen A. Smith would say, I don't care. I do not care. This guy is a football player. When you look at him athletically, he comps close enough to Yannick Ngakoue to make me feel comfortable that he could fit into a 4-3 scheme. This guy had a pass rush win rate this season on true pass rush sets. That means they discontinue RPOs, they discontinue play action, all those things that might affect someone's ability to get to the quarterback. His pass rush win rate on true pass sets was 39%. That's insane. That's absolutely incredible. And I know some people want to discount that. You had Kenneth Grant, you had,
I was going to
Mason Graham, but like 39% is nutty.
It is. And that's where
no one's close.
I struggle with it, because I try to take my fandom out of Michigan prospects, which is hard to do anyway, not scout the helmet. But then, like, it's hard not to see those guys in the middle when you're watching him and wonder how much. Like I always say with like Ohio State QBs, like I'm always skeptical because you have the best receiving core year in and year out. Like, how good are these guys? And it felt a little bit like that. Like, well, they're pulling so much attention. How much is that weighing? And I can't figure it out because he looks like a good football player to me.
I mean, like 9 sacks this year, 37 pressures. He had his regular, pass rush win rate was 27.3%. I think the one thing that would quell that fear is multiple people within that program have said he's the toughest player at the University of Michigan. Like this is all Jim Harbaugh recruits, right? This is Jim Harbaugh's Michigan. And multiple people have said that's the toughest dude, the baddest dude in the building. Like, to me, that says a lot about Josiah Stewart.
Shout out to Charles here. Say, what a great show, Greg, Aaron, and Judge. Big fan of you all. Appreciate the insight. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. You're very kind. Appreciate it.
Charles likes niche markets for sure. If you like the three of us. No, appreciate you, Charles. For Stewart, where do you see him in this draft? Like, where do you have him kind of?
It all depends, right? Because his market might be limited. Teams that run 34 defenses might be more interested than a team like the Buffalo Bills. We made Jerry Hughes work here for a really long time, and Jerry Hughes is an effective pass rusher here for a really long time. So
consensus board has him as 72.
Yeah, I think somewhere on day 2 is where he ends up going. If you're the Buffalo Bills, you probably got to take him at 56 or 62 because I don't think he's going to get to day 3. But I mean, his speed to power is absolutely insane. He had 8 pressures, 4 quarterback hits, and 2 sacks against USC this year. I'm not going to pretend to be some expert, but I follow a lot of experts, and a lot of D-line experts say that he has a very sophisticated pass rush plan. He's got a lot of moves. They know he's got a dip and rip, speed to power, a Euro chop. He's an extremely violent player. Like you see guys like John Leonard who have been watching him. They're like, hey, you want something to wake you up in the morning, you go watch Josiah Stewart try to take on a puller or set the edge, because this guy is tough. I mean, there are some clips some cut-ups I've seen where Michigan has him playing at the 4-eye, like at 6'1", 249 pounds, and he's holding his own. So to me, Josiah Stewart is a really tough football player. I think if you're the Buffalo Bills, you got to find a spot for a player like that. But I don't know. Maybe the Buffalo Bills are looking for more like guys who can take those first and second round reps. So Joey Bosa and Groot can come in on 3rd down. I think Josiah Stewart might be more of a closer than an early down guy.
Well, and you take a look, there's another guy that we did meet with at the combine. And it's funny, we talk about like these pockets of value. I think obviously there's that pocket of corners right there from like 30 to 40 that a lot of people like. There's a lot of defensive linemen that people like in that mid area that maybe would need to fall to 56. But then there's a bunch of guys in that range that we've had meetings with or had a lot that could make sense at 62, where if a Landon Jackson was still there, Uman Malian, Braden Swinson, Josiah Stewart, Oladejo from UCLA, like guys that they've met with or interested in, like there's a nice little pocket there where I feel like you could snag hey, whichever one of them is there at 62, we can get a guy that fits and makes sense as one of those spots where I feel good that if we get the cornerback defensive tackle combo, however we like it, of maybe a little trade up or a little move around, that we're still going to get a good, nice, impactful edge with that pick at 62, just because there's that pocket of guys all in that area.
Shout out.
We don't need all of them to be there. We just need one to be there.
Shout out to Dave Tilton. I'll throw Jared Ivey up in there somewhere,
Yeah.
just so I know if Dave's watching.
I think he's going to end up being a day 3 guy with that testing, though. Very, very low RAS. So, like, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm saying in this class, like, I think Jared Ivey.
And the position where it is the most impactful is defensive end. Like, there's a lot of other spots, like safety, the brains matter way, way more. The spot where there's the most direct correlation between RAS score and actual value is an edge rusher. Like, because it's just the freakiest athletes that, on the field is like, hey, go get that guy. So that's going to be a common one. All right, let's run through the offensive guys a little bit quicker here, and then we'll get over to
I know everyone wants to talk wide receivers, so I'm going to share my guy here now. Aaron's going to agree. Ty Felton out of Maryland, 6 foot, 183 pounds, 30-inch arms, 4.37 40 time with a 1.51 or with a 1.51 10-yard split. He's got a lead explosion in broad and vertical. He's a 9.61 RAS. He skipped the agility, so that affects it a little bit. I mean, this guy was 3rd team Associated Press All-American, 1st team All Big Ten. He led the team at Maryland with over 1,000 yards, 11.7 yards per reception, 9 receiving touchdowns. He was tied for 4th in the FBS with a school record 96 receptions. He played all 12 games. He was a team captain. His production has ticked up every year since he got to Maryland. He's got a great story. Tore his ACL. Virginia pulled their scholarship, then COVID hit, so he was kind of without a home for a while before he ended up at Maryland. What I like about him is this is a true vertical threat, right? He's got really good stride speed. He's got really good route cuts. He's a separator, and he's got good body control. He's strong and dynamic with the ball in his hands, so he even gives you some yards after the catch production as well. He's got really good ball tracking ability on deep routes. He showed that with a few wow catches at the Senior Bowl. This guy's a true Z, which I think is what our room in Buffalo needs. He's a little thin. That's a concern, but he's a vertical guy with the yak ability too. Arms are shorter because Emmanuel Sanders had freaky 34-inch arms, but he looks like Emmanuel Sanders kind of out there. The way he moves, the way he strides, his size outside of the arm length is very comparable to Emmanuel Sanders. Some other athletic comps for him, Lad McConkey, Marvin Mims. His size versus pressure is going to be an issue. He's not going to be the run blocker the Buffalo Bills probably want him to be. But if you're looking for that vertical field stretcher who can play the boundary, Ty Felton is that guy.
He's willing to block, though. You see it on film. Like, he might not be the best. And I think if you're willing, you can learn it. Shakir possessed that early. He wasn't good at it, but he was willing to get in there. I think he'd be way up higher on a lot of these boards if Maryland's QB play wasn't so poor, and their QB and offensive line was terrible in watching him. And he's one of those guys where you almost have to watch the reps, the non-targeted reps, to see him continuously beating coverage and running good routes and just not getting the ball. And even when he did get targeted, they were bad throws, and adjusting to bad throws and being able to come down with the ball. Love the way he catches. Yeah, I love this one. And I think he'll be of value because of how hard he was to scout. It wasn't pretty on that Maryland offense.
Could be a nice one to snag there at either 109 or 132.
Yeah. The last 2 guys I got here, they're both Arizona State guys. So out here in the desert, I get to see these guys up close. I have ASU season tickets, but Cam Scatterby, I don't even know if he's a fit for the Buffalo Bills or what the Buffalo Bills are looking to do at running back, but I can't not.
He's a fit for Western New York, right?
Be my guy 100%. I mean, this guy's 5'9", 219, 4.65, 40 with a 1.58 10-yard split. He's got elite explosion with his broad and his vertical. 7.44 RAS, which is a better number than like David Montgomery scored. So everyone wants to rip on, Cam Scatterby. Athletically very similar to a guy like David Montgomery, who's had a lot of success in this league. 293 carries this past season for 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns. He also added 45 catches for 600 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's the first FBS player ever with 1,500 rushing and 500 receiving yards. Excuse me, not ever, since Christian McCaffrey, which pretty lofty, right, in college football.
Crazy contact balance too, like insane contact balance.
He gained positive yards on 86% of his carries in 2024. He forced 110 missed tackles in 2024. He's got great vision. You mentioned the high-end contact balance, his low pad level, his foot quickness. He's got a quick, explosive jump cut. He's an excellent route runner and a guy you can dump the ball off to and get you some yards. Like, this guy put the ASU program on his back the last 2 years. Like, Herm Edwards decimated that program. Antonio Pierce decimated that program. They were down to nothing. He literally was playing quarterback, running back, and wide receiver last year because they didn't have a quarterback and they were onto their 3rd string offensive line due to injuries. Like, and this dude just never quit. And he came back this year. They had a better roster. He was 5th in Heisman, and he had 242 yards from scrimmage, passing, rushing, and receiving against Texas in that college football playoff game. He's willing in pass pro, but not the greatest at it. He doesn't possess home run speed, but like, this guy is just a football player, man. Like, he is just so good.
From a contract layering cycling standpoint, if we were in the phase and it was flipped around and James Cook was going into his second year and Ray Davis was the one that was almost done, and you were kind of replacing that role, I would love that. Like, if it was Cam Scadabo and James Cook in a backfield for the foreseeable future, that kind of role makes sense to me. The pass protection, he's actually like a phenomenal, like, there's a lot of advanced metrics that say he's the best receiving back in the draft out of the guys that are there. Like, his ability as a receiver is legitimate in what he does. So for anyone listening, I actually think he's going to be a really sneaky value in like dynasty football, like in being able to draft him and find him and sponsor. I think he's a guy who finds his way onto the field and ends up playing in
he's going to be productive, I think. Yeah.
All right, who else?
The last guy I got here, because I didn't do offensive line, I haven't looked at any quarterbacks this year, is I got Jalen Conyers out of Texas Tech. This is another guy kind of like Teddy Buchanan that I think is really going under the radar, and that's because he's never really been traditionally utilized and developed in college. It's a guy who's 6'3", 260 pounds with 33-inch arms. He ran a 4.7, 4.40 with a 1.62 10-yard split, 9.28 RAS. Again, great explosion, great agility numbers. Not really a producer in college, but he was part of that ASU program in 2023, transferred to Texas Tech. Both places used him as a wildcat quarterback, and he threw the ball and he ran the ball. He has really good wiggle, really good yards after the catch ability. You can tell just by the way that people literally use him as a running back. He had a really good week at the Shrine Bowl. He's got really good ball skills, really good short area quickness. He's got a 60% contested catch rate. His gauntlet at the combine was probably the prettiest of all the tight ends that worked out at the gauntlet. Like, no drops, no wasted motion, no nothing. He has an 80.1 run blocking grade. He's willing and able, even if he needs some refinement in that area. I look at a guy like Jalen Conyers. I think he's going to go way higher than people expect. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes off the board late day 2, early day 3. But if you're the Buffalo Bills in the 4th and the 5th round and he's there, I know they're looking more towards the 6'6", like Dawson Knox type of dudes. Those are the guys they've talked to, like guys like Fedone out of Nebraska. But a guy like Jalen Conyers, who's a little bit more untraditional, 6'3", 260, I think he could slide into that TE3 role vacated by Quentin Morris, and he could eventually be.
And now comparison to Morris is more aligned from an athletic and build standpoint.
Yeah, 100%.
Now I see the consensus board has him around like 191. So definitely a guy that maybe you could snag in. Well, but we have those picks where you go like 169, 170, 173. We have those like all right in a row there in the 5th round. That could be a sneaky spot to be able to snag.
The Zach Davidson stands are not going to be happy with you guys. I'm just saying.
His time is.
What's Trey McKitty up to?
Yeah.
So we thought tonight would be a fun way to wrap up the show, and we'll do a mock draft. It's actually a new simulator that I know Joe Marino shared earlier, and you came across and brought it to us over here at Cover One. So the account is at I think it comes from Stick to the Model. It's the name of the social media account as well, and it's sticktothemodel.com. I've actually had a chance to talk to the guy who coded it and designed it here throughout the day. And really interesting. He actually uses the kind of aggregated consensus board as the draft board, but you can go in and like change it around and play with it. So again, we talk all the time. People get really like honed in. It used to be the Draft Network when they were at their peak that everybody just knew their board. And like if you picked a guy or suggested a guy would go to a different, but no, you can never get him there. Like people got so anchored to it, and now you have that. Dan Brugler came out with the Beast today. You have all the different guys who put out their rankings. Individually, they're as good as any other one. But when you aggregate them all together, you eliminate a lot of the weird noise and the anomalies that are there. And historically, you go back and look, the guys who are the outliers from the consensus board are always the highest probability of bust, and the predictive ability is much closer to the consensus boards because, again, no one of us is as smart as all of us. It's just the law of big numbers. Like that's how life works. So it obviously makes sense to fit in there. I like the fact that this simulator is using the consensus board versus one individual draft board. So that's an interesting way to show it. So I'm going to bring it up here. you will be the lobbying scout in the draft room, lobbying Aaron and I to be the GM, and we'll make some picks here as we go.
I'm just gonna be Terry Pagula.
He just said they're like, no, not that guy.
I'm over here ruining the Sabres. Leave me
alone. You have a binder that you can.
Yeah, that's right.
So as we go through here, obviously we talked about some of the pockets, we talked about some of the areas. I like it that you can kind of filter by just the positions we're interested in, and we can see there. We're not going to do a lot of trades here tonight because it's the first time we've done one on the show. We'll try to keep it relatively true to the picks. But if something really stands out, we're adults. We can make decisions if we want to here. So I'm going to go ahead and let it get started. And we'll see some of the picks going here. Just as we go through, I'll let the top 10 go. It just, some of the normal stuff, they have Shooter going up higher. We'll see if that happens on draft day. And as the normal picks come off, all the guys that we're not going to be going after. And you get to a point here, I'm going to pause it. I'll do it now. So Barron makes it to 19. You talked about there was a point where if he started to fall, now you have the top of the board here is Jihad Campbell, James Pearson, Mike Green, the top edge rushers, and you still have Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, both still on the board. So there's, an element of that. Did Kenneth Grant already go?
I feel like Harmon's going to be in real
Kenneth Grant went at 16 here. So now you get into that area where you start to see, did they start to fall? And now you get to where, okay, now we're at 25 and you have those guys are still there. So now you get to where maybe in real life, you start to get to where, hey, maybe you jump up here and grab one. So I'm going to let it go. It's 4 more picks here, but this is one where if you see both of them go,
we got Derek Harmon. I mean, that's to me, this is a pretty easy pick from the Buffalo.
So I agree. This is a run to the podium pick for me because when you go, just from a numbers standpoint, I go in and look at the advanced stats of what's there. It's the number of sacks, pressures, and quarterback hits when you look at interior defensive linemen, he's in his own realm. He had 55 last year, the second most in all of college football was in the 30s. He's just in his own universe of how much pressure he put on the quarterback. And I love that idea. It's not exactly what we need. We probably need a more traditional Kenneth Grant or Tyleek Williams, but if you tell me that we could just get a disruptive monster of that size to put next to Ed Oliver, I'll figure out the run defense the rest of the time. It's fun.
Let teams run on us. I don't care.
In that now, this one is going to be where we will discuss. I'm going to bring up some of the trades just to see what's here. We did get offered 37 and 68 is a really nice offer. That's a really, really nice in real life.
Vegas need a quarterback. I think Greg Morris was saying today that they're always trading up for a quarterback when he was running those.
Yeah, if we weren't going to pick Derek Harmon, which I'm going to give a sneak preview, we're going to pick Derek Harmon. I would take that trade. That's a great trade. If somebody offered us 37 and 68, that's my dream scenario to get those picks because you could drop back and probably get Trey Amos or one of those guys.
I was going to say, honestly, if we were really in a draft room, I'd be trying to stop you from going to take Derek Harmon and trying to say that we could get 2 to 3 starting caliber players in this draft.
Yeah, Steve, you're the tiebreaker here. You want to take Harmon, or is that trade too good?
I'm taking Harmon. I mean, so I had to pull back up my notes from our show the other night. Most pressures by a defensive tackle in college football, 55, as you mentioned. Second in pressure rate, 10.7%. 5 sacks, 10 tackles for losses. The spider chart I mentioned earlier, Leonard Williams was one of the comps on the spider chart. He's also athletically really close to Christian Barmore. So I know, unfortunately, Christian Barmore has been dealing with some things, but to me, that's way too enticing of an interior defender to pass up. I think we need interior penetrators. I think he's an interior penetrator. I think he can collapse the pocket. I think that's exactly what the Buffalo Bills are looking for, especially when you're trying to get over the hump. How many interior defensive linemen have ruined our playoff lives, right? Our playoff dreams. I think I want one of those on our. We have Ed Oliver. Don't get me wrong. I like Ed Oliver, but I mean, it'd be great to have 2 guys who could really penetrate from the interior like that.
So do you put real quick, right there. Do you put Hairston in the same group with Thomas and Amos? I know with Amos, Ravel Jr., I love watching Siobhan Ravel, his clips, but I don't know health-wise where he is.
It is so tough. I know they brought Ravel in for probably, my guess is to test the medicals. I know that they were at Florida State's Pro Day. I know they brought Trey Amos in for a top 30. Mel Kiper has now on multiple occasions mocked Maxwell Hairston to the Buffalo Bills. I like Maxwell Hairston, but the way the Buffalo Bills were talking about run support, I know he was playing with a shoulder injury this year, and people said he was better in years previous, but not the greatest run defender in 2024 when you watch his stuff. So I haven't had a chance to go back to 2023 and look at that stuff. I mean, it's tempting with his speed and his ability to cover guys deep and his ability to play man in zone.
He's one of the 40s I got to watch in person while I was there. That dude flies.
Fast.
Yeah.
Flies.
It's
Thomas
tempting.
feels like the Billsiest to me.
All right. I'm going to go with Harmon, and then I'm going to pause it because I want to go, and I'm now going to filter by the corners and just see how long we can wait until one of those top 4-ish guys are still there. And then
check what happened at 37 too.
Okay. So Amos made it all the way to 40. We lost Tyleik Williams, but we already got Harmon. So it's now in a range where like you might be able to get up and get one of those guys there. So how do you feel about Ezra Thomas?
I like Ezra Thomas. I know obviously the Buffalo Bills have shown a little bit of interest in him being so prevalent at Florida State Pro Day. We don't know if that's the reason why he was there. Is he visiting? Is that something that has been?
I don't
Ezra
know
Thomas.
if I
feel like there's
saw
some kind of
him.
connection, but
I know the Bills didn't scout Florida State this year, so
he's not listed as a formal visit reported yet. I know obviously Ryan Talbot does a great job tracking those. We'll probably go over his list next week. He's not formally reported yet.
And again, the teams that play the most man are the teams that only play it like what 32% of the time, 33% of the time. Yeah. But to me, like
it's his own league.
He's a lockdown, like man-to-man defender. The work that he needs to do needs to come in zone, but he's a young guy. I think he just came off the board there. You're right, Aaron. He fits a lot of. I think he checks a lot of the boxes. I think the Buffalo Bills will probably see in Isaiah Thomas what they saw in Kyrie Elam. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think he checks the boxes of what the Buffalo Bills would be interested in.
So the challenge is to move up from 56 to 44. You'd probably have to give up like 109 and one of the fifth rounders. So the earlier fourth and one of the fifths to be able to get up to that high. But you could do it and still get and again, that's how I try to monitor these is, could you wait and see which of the corners falls the farthest, and then can you trade up to get one while they're still there? Or you go the other direction and you do the same thing with the defensive tackles. If you go corner first, I do the same thing and monitor, and then you could jump back up there. Would you guys want to make a move up to get Harrison?
No.
All
right. So we'll let it go. We'll see who makes it. Harrison did go.
TJ Sanders, that hurts.
Darius
Alexander's gone. I quit.
Xavier Watts is there. So we do have Xavier Watts here on the board from a corner standpoint. Now you're looking at like a Noel Williams, Darian Porter. From an edge standpoint, we do have Josiah Stewart, Braden Swinson, who we saw was in for a visit just yesterday. So a handful of guys here who are all in that area. So I know multiple of my guys, so you got the choice of you could even maybe get Xavier Watts and Josiah Stewart with these two picks. However, is there a cornerback? Where would you put the team need for like a Noel Williams versus maybe a guy you have higher in a Xavier Watts?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, to me, I just want to add 3 dogs to this defense. Like that's what I want to do with the first 3 picks. Like just do what the Chiefs did a couple of years ago after Tyreek Hill left and just infuse youth and strength and speed and just ball players to that defense like they did the year they drafted Karlaftis and McDuffie. But the coward in me would probably go would probably want to check the boxes, and I would probably go like Braden Swinson because that's the guy the Bills are connected to, and then Noel Williams, or even Darian Porter because I don't mind Darian Porter despite the age. But the risk taker in me really wants to go Xavier Watts, Josiah Stewart. Like that's where I want to go with it. But
we're not held to this, and we're like this isn't real life. Let's do what you want.
There's more of the other guys. There obviously the drop off after him. So I'm gonna take Watts, and then we'll see who makes it to us. We have our choice. So now we still have either Porter, Noel Williams, or Josiah Stewart or Braden Swinson. We have all 4 here on the board for that spot. I don't think we can walk away with the first 3 picks. If one of our first 3 picks isn't an edge rusher, I'll live. if one of our first 3 picks isn't a cornerback, I'll probably have a conniption. So, I'm going to need either Porter or Williams in this spot.
I would take Noel Williams over Darian Porter, but that's just me personally.
I like it. That's why else have you on the show?
I love
Omar Norman Lott is a guy that I know is a interesting double dip, and I'm going to bring up the double dip that I want.
Chiefs hurts.
Scatterboo to the Cowboys. Oh, that hurts my soul.
Swinson went to the Chiefs. I dislike that. So as we go through here, not only do I want a double dip at both corner and defensive line.
Felton just left.
Yeah.
I felt he made it a lot of ways. That would have been a nice one.
Oh my God. They don't even care about defense. That makes a lot of sense.
Where are you on Kyle Williams? I've seen a crazy range.
Probably the best natural separator in this draft. Like, now is he sort of that like traditional boundary deep guy? Like, no. I think he's a chess piece you can move around, but I don't think many guys get off press man like Kyle Williams in this draft. I would be completely comfortable with him in the 4th round. I'm hearing from people say he could sneak into the 1st.
Yeah, like he has by far the biggest range, because I do my draft work by cheating off other people. I go read other people's rankings, other people's boards, other people, and like again, on here he's 153 on the consensus board. He's like 112, and then I see who was it?
Was it Chris Sims had his wide receiver?
Chris Sims had him second. Chris Sims had him as his wide receiver.
I think some of it is he's been doing it so long that people got stale on, like, it's not new and exciting.
I'll say this: like, Kyle Williams is on the board, and I think he's probably the best player on the board right now. But Pooh Paul is really interesting. Chris Paul Jr. out of Mississippi. I think he checks a lot of boxes for the Bills are looking for in linebackers. But if you scroll back up,
I want you to stop me from double dipping and just taking both Oregon defensive
Oregon
linemen.
DTs.
Just give me both of them, because then I get the 2-down run plugger and I get the disruptive guy. And like, here, I'm just going to double dip and just take Oregon's defensive tackles and plug them in here.
I mean, CJ West is on the board though.
Yeah. I also wouldn't mind if you go to the edge. My runner-up for my guy in this draft was David Walker out of Central Arkansas. I mean, he dominated FCS competition. Mike Renner says it was the most dominant Division II tape he's ever seen from an edge rusher. This is a guy who athletically, if you put his RAS up against Brandon Graham's RAS, very, very similar. They're power players. They got that low center of gravity, being a little bit shorter. David Walker's a really, really good player. I think he's a guy who could play on like 1st and 2nd down and sort of, come off the field for the guys like Joey Bosa and Groot. So a guy like David Walker is super interesting here as well.
So, and we do
Savion Jones, another early guy, the 280. I really like him.
So let's take one of the edge, and then we'll take whoever makes it out of Jamari Caldwell or Kyle Williams at our 132. Right. So Savion Jones or David Walker?
I would take David Walker.
All right, done. So now I'm going to get myself mad and see if
can we see what corners are still going to?
CJ West is gone.
Yeah. Caldwell made it. All right. So we have Caldwell, and we also have Kyle Williams. So we got both players on the board.
Don't we pick again real soon?
What?
Don't we pick again real soon?
Yeah. No, this one is 132. Then we have the whole bunch in a row, like 169, 170, 173. We have a whole bunch all together.
It's tough. There's a bunch of speedy receivers there, and like Lambert Smith, who the Bills have been connected to as well.
I like Lambert Smith. Can we see corners still, even though that's marked out?
Dorian Strong is tempting here. He's a really good player. He's a guy I think the Bills could get the 4th round.
Corner.
I was just going to say, I want to see. I like where I always like to watch where Zy Alexander goes, because he's like a super Billsy guy. He checks a lot of our.
You should see mine until text messages about. It's embarrassing.
Is it not safe for work?
It's embarrassing. It's so typical of me too, because like if you go pull up his RAS card,
they have him at 90 here. Yeah. He'd be a guy that if he made it to 109, I think they would just run to the podium and take him.
I like him. All right, let's see.
So again, receiver here, we got Kyle Williams. For me, it would be one of Jamari Caldwell again. So far we've picked Derek Harmon, Xavier Watts, Noel Williams, David Walker. We've checked our 4 boxes. So in theory, you would probably take your receiver before you would take another defensive tackle. But I do like if CJ West hadn't made it there, I probably would have taken him. But at that pick, I do think Kyle Williams is probably the smarter pick versus taking another one. But I do like Jamari Caldwell a lot.
Yeah, I would take Kyle Williams here. I know it's going to make you sad, but Let's see if maybe there's some world where Jamari
I was just
Caldwell.
gonna say, we got way too many picks, so I could just trade up. Let's see if I go
Brian
here.
Strong's still sitting there gets me too.
All I gotta do is give up one of the. We got like 5 of them to go there and go up
from
here
the 7th too to get the deal done.
Yeah. I lost them.
Oh,
I tried. They rejected my trade.
Oh, they rejected it.
Yeah, they rejected the trade.
That's all right.
Are we getting close?
Now we're up.
Boom, boom, boom.
This is where we're going to have.
This is my least favorite part of mock drafts.
1, 2, 4 of the next 8 picks. Are Bills picks, so we can knock off anything that we want here.
Well, is Caldwell still on the board? Did he go off?
No, he's gone.
He got taken right after they declined my trade.
Teddy Buchanan is right there. 2 Cal Bears.
All right, so that's an easy one. We need a linebacker. He's one of your guys.
Yeah.
That's one. And we pick the next pick, so there's no risk. All right, so now from a coverage standpoint, we've now checked like every box. We have defensive lineman Derek Harmon, safety Xavier Watts, corner Noel Williams, edge rusher David Walker, receiver Kyle Williams, linebacker Teddy Buchanan. So I'd still like another deep tackle and another corner, maybe a depth tight end, but now we could pretty much take anything of what's there.
You're like Ingram Dawkins. I know.
Is he still there?
Yeah.
I would take Ingram Dawkins here. Dwayne Smoot type of player. I mean, the Bills are just adding a bunch of power players to that defensive line, but maybe he doesn't really fit with the mold of what they want, but he's a guy they met with. I think he's an inside-outside guy. But I think maybe at this point now,
Tyler Beatty.
Tyler Beatty's a power player, really good power player, 40-plus pressures this year at BYU, older player because he did the Mormon mission. He's married, so he's probably more of an instant impact guy. Who are the DTs
let me see.
available?
So
I'm looking for like those one tech pluggers. Cam Jackson's a big one tech. Nazir Stackhouse, Tim Smith.
I like Tim Smith.
I like Tim Smith from Alabama.
Zeke Biggers, just from a name standpoint alone, like
he's not very
jumps
good.
up.
Bills have met with Zeke too.
They did. That's the only reason I knew about him.
I think Eric Gregory from Arkansas checks a lot of boxes. 3-tech, 1-tech, flexible. The Bills probably have a pretty decent understanding of him.
Tim Smith feels like a guy that I just like throw a flyer on late every one of these mocks. Like, just give me a big.
If you go to corner there, Bilal Cohen reminds me a lot of Rasul Douglas out of Western Michigan. Pretty good zone corner, pretty good athletic testing out of Western Michigan. I really like Bilal Cohen and what he has to offer. Mello Dotson's another guy.
I was going to say Mello Dotson's an interesting one too.
One other spot that I do I could see them taking a developmental guy is the last year David Edwards and Connor McGovern. But either or both of them could be extended this summer. Obviously, when Connor McGovern was on the film room with Anthony Braska and Eric Turner, he talked about the fact that they've already had some extension talks and they kind of got tabled until after the draft. So I hope that they extend Connor McGovern, but obviously not a guarantee. That's a spot where I could see them looking here.
I would look more at tackles that could kick inside than I would into the lineman, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Holland Price is nuts. I know we're not going to draft Holland Price, but that's not a guy who's going to kick inside a guard. But Jack Nelson is a really intriguing player out of Wisconsin. I think he's very David Edwardsy.
I have nothing to say about offensive line.
Yeah, I haven't looked.
Jack Nelson's the only one I know. Jack Nelson's the only. Holland Price, because he's a freak, are the only 2 names I know.
Should we look at running back?
Jordan James, I feel like, is a guy they'd have some interest in. Jaden Blue with that speed. LaQuinn Allen, he's a good pass blocker.
So Jaden Blue is an example. Obviously, I don't watch a ton of college football, but every time I watch a Texas game, like his acceleration would flash off the screen so much. Like he looked like a glitch when he would start running. Like it was so fast. I'm like, what the hell? Like it's so noticeable, his acceleration on a team full of crazy fast people with Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden and stuff like that. Like Isaiah Blue's the guy, or Jaden Blue's the guy who would flash for me watching Texas play, that his speed was just so noticeable on the field, his game speed.
Who's available at tight end?
Let's see, tight end, Aranda Gadsden.
CJ Dippery, I think, is an interesting one. I think he meets the size profile of the Buffalo Bills. Thomas Fanone, the Buffalo Bills have met with. Jalen Conyers is still on the board there as well. I really like Jalen Conyers. If it were me, if it were me,
we'll take Conyers just because
yeah.
we have another pick coming up here in just a minute. And
If it were me, I'd be
think they walk
taking.
away with a tight end there.
I'd be
later.
taking a corner and a D tackle with my next 2 picks. I'd probably
All
be
right.
taking Bilal Cohn and like Tim Smith.
Yeah,
If it's me,
let's do
but-
and he's a Michigan guy, so Aaron's happy.
Western Michigan. That's a wrong logo there. I think. Yeah, but
that's so funny. He's Western Michigan. They have him as Michigan. So any other spot here? Let's see if there is another like big body defensive tackle that you think.
To me, Tim Smith is the name.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got to be for me. Cool. Just take the flyer on him there.
Let's see.
And now you wait.
Pick here, and then we'll close. And
What
what
foreign player are we gonna take?
No. I got it. I got it taken care of. Don't worry.
Okay.
Wait, they don't even have him in here.
Who are you looking for?
Desmond Watson.
Oh,
no. The 464-pound guy from.
I guess we could take a running back here, right?
Sure.
I'm glad they don't have him because I would have just slammed my headphones down.
Kyle Mununga guy is a pass blocker. Jaden Blue's got speed. Quinn Allen is a good.
Oh no, we're taking Jaden Blue for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we're taking Jaden Blue for sure. That's easy. All right, so
Waxter's an interesting corner out of Villanova.
So we didn't do any trades. I did try. They rejected
my trade. That sounds like me in high school.
D, yeah. This checks out. And again, we picked some of Steve's guys here intentionally, with a couple spots that were ranked lower. They had Noah Williams at 88. We took him at 62. Kyle Williams, they have a 153. We got him at 1. If we get Kyle Williams at 132, I'm going to be ecstatic. I don't care where they have him ranked. The same thing, Jalen Conyers, obviously, they have as a huge reach for where we took him. But we ended up with the 2 defensive linemen with Derek Harmon and Tim Smith. We ended up with Xavier Watts, a guy who might come in and push for a starting safety spot day one. We got 2 corners in Noah Williams and Bilal Cohn. We got edge rusher David Walker. We got linebacker Teddy Buchanan, tight end Jalen Conyers, running back Jaden Blue. I don't think it's the most likely that we actually make 10 picks in the real NFL draft. I think similar to what we saw in years past, I could see him trading one of our 6 for a future 5th, one of our 5ths for a future 4th. We ended up with that. The pick 109 was just like that, where we traded with Chicago just because they were impatient, and we ended up with a really nice, we're going to get a top 100 player at that spot, a top 100 player on the Bills board at 109. I'm sure there'll be someone available in their top 100 at that spot. So some of those I think will make sense. And then honestly, the area we were looking where instead of picking Noah Williams at 62, if you end up packaging together a couple of those picks and you get up there and you end up getting, whether it's, Harrison or one of the other guys that ended up going, let me flip back to the draft results itself, where whoever's there out of Ravel and Morrison, Trey Amos is the one that everybody's so focused on right now. But wherever it ends up, you can move up and get one of those guys there. So overall, I thought that was a lot of fun. Again, this first day that we've seen this model out here, but stick to the model.com. Go check them out. It's a lot of fun.
We got to do Greg's first mock of the year.
That was literally, so I won't lie. I played with that website today. I have not done one mock draft the entire time, but I knew tonight we were going to do it. So I wanted to know how the website worked when we did it. So I did not do my first mock draft until today. And that was the first one that I've done. I didn't do it all the way through earlier today. I just played around with how the trades worked and how things worked on the website. So I'll play around with that one more as we go forward here. Steve, any final things for the people? What are you coming up and doing for your last 2 shows here before the draft?
Yeah, we actually are probably going to record a couple on-demand things too, just to make sure we get it all in. Monday, we're going to do wide receiver. Then we're probably going to record our no matter what show. So mine got spoiled a little bit, but I'll let Dave reveal his no matter what list, and we'll talk about our guys. And then we'll do a show the Monday before the draft where we just go day 1, who are the options across positions and compare them. Day 2, who are the options across positions, compare them. Day 3, options across positions, compare them, and set a little mini board for ourselves before we head into Thursday night, where we got live draft coverage all 3 nights of the draft.
Very, very cool.
Love it.
Aaron, anything you have coming up here for the people?
No, I'm gonna take the next 4 days and watch golf. Pretty much.
Nice.
But no, I want to just actually thank you for coming on and spending time with us today. And this was a fun exercise. I think that's one thing people forget when we're doing mock drafts and like posting mock drafts, that it is just an exercise. It's not always a
the fun of
prediction,
tonight
right?
was it's the discussion. It's being able to see, hey, what would you do here, and looking where those pockets are. Like, hey, if you don't get a guy by here, you're not really liking the options. And those are the different spots where it's interesting to be able to see who makes sense in different areas, when you might need to trade up, when it could make sense to trade down. I do think if a Derek Harmon, one of those top three, Nolan, Grant, Harmon, don't make it to us at 30, I am very much open to that trade down and scoop, like that trade that I turned down that in real life I probably would have taken to move back, where I think it was 37 and 68. That 37 spot, you feel really comfortable that one of those corners is going to be there. You're going to get one of Amos Thomas.
We would have had Amos.
Yeah, right there. We would have had Amos, and then
double
we would have
dip
had
it earlier with the interior line.
Could have gotten Tyleek or TJ Sanders probably.
You could really line yourself up with 3-4 starting contributors right away, and you could package some of those picks that we were just kind of throwing stuff at the wall later to get back in the top 100. Like the fun thing is Brandon Beane has so many options.
Yeah, it's a great spot to be in. There's a lot of good stuff that we can do. All right, Aaron, any final things for the people before we close out?
No, that's it, man. Make sure you're subscribed to One Pass. The conversation's been fantastic. Like you were saying, Greg, earlier, like the kind of debating the philosophy of this stuff. Like, what are we doing? And if you sign up now for One Pass, you'll get it for the draft, and you'll get it through all the way till this time next year. It's a year membership. Discord's going great. And if you were a fan of what Eric and Anthony are doing in the film room, a lot of that stuff happens and gets pushed out to the Cover One Pass members first, so you get the exclusive look at some of the cool work that we're doing.
Yeah, and shout out to those guys. The film room's been on absolute fire. Back to back, they went with Michael Hoyt, Terrell Bernard, Greg Rousseau, Connor McGovern, Alec Anderson, 5 Bills players back to back. Awesome shows. You could tell. I love watching those players' kind of eyes light up when they realize how much Eric and Anthony really know what they're talking about and can really talk ball with them.
Not just asking about turkey sandwiches and turkey burgers or whatever.
Turkey burgers they can make. Although I was upset with Eric, he didn't ask my question. I wanted to ask Connor McGovern if you had to pick 2 teammates in a pizza eating contest to save humanity. Aliens came down and we're the only way to save the human race was to have a pizza eating contest. Which 2 offensive line teammates would you pick? That was what I really wanted to know, but I didn't give him
Spencer Brown and Alec Anderson, I think, would have been the answer.
I think that's a very don't underestimate Cybo.
I was going to say Cybo sleeper pick.
Could dominate some pizza. All right, guys, we appreciate it very, very much. As Aaron said, make sure you check out everything we have. You can go over to www.cover1.net/onepass, sign up, get yourself an awesome specially designed 26 shirt, join us in the Discord, support us, and hang out all year long. Make sure you're checking out the Air Raid Hour. We talked about the film room, disguise coverage, under review, all the guys, all the great work that everybody's doing. Make sure you check it out. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, help us out on the way out. Our friends over at William & Tar Law Offices, fantastic partners to work with. We love working with them. Make sure you help them out. You know the logo and the slogan, hurt in a car, call William & Tar, 844-444-4444. Love working with them. Appreciate you guys. And on behalf of everybody here at Cover One, Aaron Quinn and Steve Mathis, I'm Greg Tompsett, and we are out.